Good morning, everybody. So good to be with you again and to look at the letters that Jesus are writing you. And today we're looking at that letter that he's writing in Revelation chapter 2 from verse 18 to 29. And we are going to, good morning, Louise. Good to see you guys again. This morning we're going to read verse 18, 19, and just the latter bit of verse 23. It says in verse 18, it says, "To the angel of the church in Thyatira, write, these are the words of the Son of God, whose eyes are like blazing fire, and whose feet are like burnished bronze. I know your deeds, your love and your faith, your service and perseverance, and that you are doing more than you did at first." And then just the last bit of verse 23, where it says, "Then all the churches will know that I am he who searches hearts and minds, and I will repay each of you according to your deeds." Good morning, Ineka. Good to see you guys there as well. So the picture that Jesus paints of himself in this letter is that he is the Son of God, the one with eyes like fire. And I want to talk about that a little bit more. When we hear that he's got eyes like fire, what emotion does it stir in you? Is it fear? Is it worry? Or is it actually that we do see there love? And man, that's actually what he wants. He wants us to see his eyes of love. But I think when we hear that he's got eyes of fire, and remember yesterday we spoke about that fire is pure and fire purifies, and that fire actually shows you the passion that Jesus has for you. And then we hear this thing that he says, "But I see everything." Remember Hebrews 4 verse 13 says, "Nothing is hidden from the eyes of him to whom we must give account." And that sometimes, when sometimes as believers, as followers of Jesus, when we hear that, we kind of shy away, or we get a little bit worried or afraid because we are so aware of our own weaknesses or our own shortcomings. Guys, but if you could learn to turn to Jesus, to trust him, to turn to Jesus in even your moments of weakness, your life will never be the same. You will grow in your relationship with him like you've never done before. And sometimes we think about something in us that we don't like, a negative aspect, or maybe a habit that you're battling with, or whatever it might be. And actually we think those things, when God looks at us, he sees that. He sees everything. He sees the good and the bad. And then we realize, man, Jesus is seeing this. And it's like we struggle to relate with him after that thought hits us. But the next thing we do is we try and hide it. And some people make a joke. They say the pastor is the guy who can hide his sin the best. But the thing is this: Jesus actually knows already your weakness, your shortcoming, whatever that thing is that you feel would disqualify you. He knows already. So you don't have to hide it. You can bring it into the light. Absolutely. That's a liberating thing. You don't have to hide it because he already sees it. And in Psalm 18, David teaches us that God delivers because he delights. If you need deliverance, it means there's something wrong. And he will deliver you, not because you will one day get it right. He delivers because he enjoys and delights in you now. You see, guys, often when we sit with this, maybe it's a worry, or maybe it's an addiction, and we must learn to turn and to allow that gaze of the eyes of fire to gaze on us, because that purifies us. It helps us on this journey. So when maybe you like this, you first get those little thoughts. You start worrying about, where's the money going to come from? How will provision come? What will I be able to pay salaries or pay bills or whatever? And those thoughts actually spiral us into a place where we shouldn't be. Or maybe you're battling with an addiction, and suddenly you just smell that thing, and it just starts this thought process in your mind. Now, first, I want to say those are not your thoughts. The new man will never think anything that's not in line or honoring to Jesus, and your old man is dead. So those thoughts come from the enemy. But we sometimes we make those thoughts our own. But here's the thing, when you get those thoughts, when you become aware of those thoughts that you are thinking, the worrying, or maybe thinking about, whatever weakness you have, if you at that moment can say, Jesus, if you can turn into those eyes of fire and you say, Jesus, won't you gaze on me? If you can trust him with that, you'll see those eyes of fire will burn those thoughts away, and you will actually fall in love with him more and more and more. In in Matthew, in chapter 7 and 25, Jesus says a scary thing. He says to people who come to him, hey, we've prophesied in your name and we've healed people and all those kind of things. And then Jesus says, I don't know you. You see, it's important for us to know Jesus, but we've got to sit before him and actually say, God, this is who I am. And bring to him who you are. Allow his gaze to see you so that he can know you as well. Now, he knows everything. He's not surprised by anything, but he wants us to offer who we are, to bring who we are to him. And that, if you can trust those eyes of fire, man, your life will be radically impacted by a deeper relationship with Jesus. In those verses that we read today, it says, I know your deeds, and I know that you're doing more now than you did. And then it goes on and it says, I search every heart, and I will reward you according to your deeds. Now, guys, we will be rewarded according to our deeds, but we are saved through grace, by grace through faith. So our reward is by grace through faith. Now, our great reward is Jesus himself. So whatever deeds you do, you get your greatest reward, which is the person of God, Jesus himself, by grace through faith. But what if the deeds that we get rewarded for, what if those rewards aren't for us, but they're actually for Jesus? How would that change the way that we do things? You see, works are still important. And remember, if we work for acceptance, for forgiveness, then we're on the wrong operating system. We must work with him because we're already accepted, already forgiven. But the reality remains, for followers of Jesus, we are still called to disciple the nations. And we can do stuff when we are empowered, even when we are empowered by those eyes of love, we can do stuff with him. We are still called as believers to preach the kingdom of God and to demonstrate the kingdom of God. We are called to do that. Those are deeds that we have to do. As followers of Jesus and lovers of Jesus, we are called to love, to walk in love, to live by love. Those deeds are so important to us. And if we as believers think, my reward is not necessary, I already get the greatest reward, there are others that need reward as well. They need Jesus as well. And how great wouldn't it be if the rewards that we get for our deeds, they're actually a gift for Jesus? Guys, my prayer for you is that you will turn to allow those eyes of fire, those eyes of love to gaze on you and set you ablaze. May you have a great day today. God bless you guys.